Hello YouTube, welcome back to Greg Plays Games. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like video game related content, discussion videos, please subscribe to the channel. Check out some of the other videos I have. Today I'm going to be talking about if you should play Pokemon Yellow in the year of our Lord and Savior 2025. Pokemon Yellow was the very first video game I ever played on my Game Boy Color. Insert the dope atomic purple color here. And Pokemon Yellow was the very first game I got with that console. My brother and I actually also got a Nintendo 64 to share, which is an incredible Christmas. Game Boy and Nintendo 64. Very spoiled, very fortunate. But Pokemon Yellow was truly the first video game I ever played, along with Super Mario 64. Those are the two video games that I, really connected with when I was first starting gaming. And this year I've gone back and started to revisit some of those old classic games I missed or just never really beat. And Pokemon Yellow, as well as really, most Game Boy Pokemon games, I just never beat. So I wanted to start, with the very first generation and make my way through all the games I had as a kid, starting with Pokemon Yellow. Next would be Pokemon Crystal. And then I'm actually going to go to Leaf Green after that, which was, those three games I just have a very vivid memory of playing as a kid, but just never beating because I was too stupid to understand what the fuck to do in those games. So as an adult, I'm revisiting. I've been playing Pokemon Yellow Legacy, which is a fan modified version of the core game, and it just kind of adds a handful of mechanic improvements to make things a little easier from like a functionality standpoint, just kind of quality of life improvement stuff. Nothing that drastically impacts the gameplay of the game. So for example, I know they added the running function, and I think there probably just some gym. There was like one particular gym that they made a lot easier too. But I started playing this game honestly last year, and then my save file got corrupted while I was playing on my Ambernick RG35XX, which I really do love this handheld. I have a ton of my favorite Game Boy games on here that I'm working through, and then Pokemon Yellow Legacy, of course, a ROM hack on this device. And I just love the device. I love the form factor. I love the kind of the sleek vertical handheld design, as well as kind of the retro inspiration on the color scheme. So I'm a big fan of this. Decent quality screen, and it's just for Game Boy games, so it's nothing too crazy as far as running the game's standpoint. It runs the game completely fine, but there are a little bit of quirks with using a emulator device. Like I accidentally, I don't know if you can see this, there's a reset button on the side of this device, and I accidentally pressed that and lost probably about 5 hours of gameplay one day, and was completely distraught. I just leveled up my Blastoise, or I evolved my Wartortle into Blastoise. Holy fuck. These names. And lost that, had to redo everything, get all the good Pokemoves in there. I don't know what the fuck this stuff is called. But I was just so bummed. I had to put the game up for a little bit. But I recently got a new handheld device that's a little bit higher quality that I'm really excited to play. But because that's coming in, I really wanted to finally beat Pokemon Yellow. I'm really close right now. I've not completely beat it. I'm on the Champions Road, so I'm about to be the greatest Pokemaster who ever did it. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I don't know, there's something about this game that there is just so much nostalgia, and it's sometimes hard to disconnect the nostalgia from, is this a good game? And I think that conversation is really interesting, because I think there are games that I didn't play growing up, like Ocarina of Time, and when I try to play it, I just can't get into it. It feels dated. The structure of the game, the linearity of it, the puzzle solving all felt dated. I've had a really hard time beating Ocarina of Time. But I felt like these old Pokemon games are a little bit of an exception. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, I'm definitely biased because I grew up on these games. Even though I never beat them, I have that nostalgia. I grew up in that era of the early, 2000s where Pokemon was huge. I mean, it's still huge now, but it was such a craze and it was such a fanfare back in the day. So I wanted to kind of discuss that. Is this nostalgia talking, or is the game actually good? And truthfully, it is somewhere in the middle. I think if you'd never played a Pokemon game, I would never recommend that you start with Pokemon Yellow. It is very simple and it's an easy to follow game, but it does feel dated just from a graphics standpoint and the color palette. Everything is one tone depending on the town you're in. The sprites are obviously very 16-bit or that old era. I don't know the appropriate graphic moniker to tie with it, if it's 8-bit, 16-bit. I'm not sure. It might be 8-bit actually. I don't know. But I'll insert answer here. But it is truly just a fun game. I think once you kind of get in between and get over the graphics and get into the actual gameplay on the does water type have a advantage over grass type, or electric type an advantage over water type, I do think that gameplay aspect is still interesting to this day. It's still satisfying to go and catch Pokemon. It's still exciting to find a Pokemon you've not caught before and to try and capture it. It still feels stressful when you're not capturing a Pokemon you've never caught before and you don't really know if you'll see it again. All of that feeling is still there. It's still fun to battle. So even though the graphics aren't up to today's standard in some ways, the gameplay holds up really well, especially with this ROM hack Pokemon Yellow Legacy, where they have made those minor improvements to where, some of those old game design functions, like let's say the limited item inventory in your backpack. So now you have to compromise and get rid of TMs or useful items. That some of that stuff has been made a little bit more quality of life, so you don't have to think about it as much. And but it doesn't really take the challenge away. So I definitely got caught in instances where I had to level up my Pokemon, kind of had to grind leveling, but it's fun and it's not over the top. For example, I played Dragon Quest III earlier this year, last year into early this year, but there's just so much part of that game where the grinding just isn't even fun. The battling isn't fun. And that really boils down to personal preference at the end of the day. And I don't know, Pokemon just connected with me a lot stronger than some of the other turn-based games I've played. And I think that's a testament to the games themselves, as well as the characters, the music, the towns. All of that is still interesting today, even if you don't have, the best graphics or the highest quality soundtrack. It's still crazy how simple, the music is in these games, but how memorable they are. I've been having the battle theme in my head since I've been playing this game, and it's all I hear right now. So, at the end of the day, I do have nostalgia for these games, but I really do think that these old Pokemon games hold up really well, especially if you get some versions with the slightly modified quality of life improvements like Pokemon Yellow. I think there's still a lot of fun to be had in these games, and you can pretty much play them on any device. So there's really, limitless opportunities to play these. There's so many fan-made games, and there's something about the old graphics that is more interesting, more fun, and more, I don't know, it just feels right to see them, all the Pokemon in pixel graphics, as opposed to the 3D renderings we get now, which are still really cool. I really do love the modern Pokemon games. That's kind of why I'm even interested in these older games anyways, is because I had so much fun with the new games, but they I think come short from a just, gameplay standpoint. Like, they just don't run well. I love Legends Arceus, and I really did love Scarlet and Violet too, but they just run clunky, and I don't know, some of the spirit of the game gets a little bit lost from the old games when you lose the sprites. So I'm really excited to be kind of working my way through all the Pokemon games. I'm gonna take it generation by generation. I'm gonna try and play, you know, probably the deluxe version of each one. So Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Emerald. I think they actually kind of strayed away from using the deluxe formula after a certain point. So that might be it. And I'm definitely playing ROM hacks as well. And it's I don't know, just a really great franchise with a lot of fun games. And I think there's something in it for, you know, anyone, because you can find harder versions of the game, you can find easier versions of the game, you can find versions of the game that, you know, kind of go step in step with the show itself. So there's just a lot of really cool fan made content as well. And it's truly limitless. So I just wanted to kind of talk about my experience playing Pokemon Yellow Legacy. I've had a blast, even though it's an older game. It's still a ton of fun, still very interesting. I don't think I'm going to try and catch them all. I'm probably going to tap out after I, you know, get through Victory Road or Champions Road. I'm not sure what it's called, and do whatever the final fight is. I'm actually kind of going in blind to this last section. So I'm really excited to be experiencing this full game for the first time. Really appreciate you checking out this video. If you listen to me fast talk and rant about Pokemon for 15 minutes or however long it's been, if you have made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. I'm begging you. It's the only thing that keeps me going every single day is when I get a new subscriber email. So please, guys, please help me. Thanks.